Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Dr. Doujinshi, and welcome back to another episode of Hentai Reviews, the only series where we believe in two things, and both of them are thighs. Alright, now today we're going to be following along in the second episode and final episode of a little series of which I'd like to call Little Devil Girlfriend, but as you can see by the title, I decided to go the extra step and learn the Japanese name, even though I didn't do that in the first one, which would be Koakuma Kanojo. Yes, I memorized that. I do not have the script right off scene. That being said, Little Devil Girlfriend Episode 2 is done by our friends over at Pink Pineapple, running at approximately 26 minutes and some change, and hosts a plethora of tags, 13 to be precise, notable of which are, your standard stuff. Harem, fantasy, and foot job. I included that because somebody out there has got to enjoy it. I didn't, but doctor prescribes drugs he doesn't take. Hey, might as well be kind to everybody, including you weird asses out there. But let's get into the actualness of the entire episode. You see, this entire thing starts off with a conversation being done between a whole bunch of girls who are all undressing in a locker room. You know, the typical place where a porno starts. Getting them shots early. So, what happens is all these different girls are undressing, as you can see the katas, through the entirety of it, as they all discuss, hey, did you know that there's a person going around selling aphrodisiacs? And the other person's like, I do, I'm so well informed about everything that goes on in this school. Oh, everything is happening and I know it all. There's a girl going around selling these things that essentially you drink and then you become infatuated beyond belief. That's not how aphrodisiacs work. They just make it to where your sex hormones increase tenfold, or at least much more sensitive to them when they are actually produced. And they all start getting a little bit more antsy in the pantsy. But there is no scene here starting off, mostly because it then cuts to right outside the room, where it shows a girl holding 4 different vials. This girl is Hibiki. Hibiki is going to be showing up a lot in this episode. As it continues further, it goes past the little title screen of Little Devil Girlfriend. Little Devil Girlfriend. That was a stupid joke, but let's continue. After the beginning of it kind of just kicks off a little bit, it then goes to 2 characters. Kazuya and Hibiki both walking to school. Kazuya being the character of the whole thing, and as he walks to school, he kind of has his little repertoire and conversation going on with Hibiki. As they both walk by, they notice that there is this beautiful, big-boobed, blonde elf girl. Elves are better than demons. I will fight you in the parking lot over this. But as they start walking by, he notices her, and he thinks, God! Why are you so fucking sexy? So, he thinks, man, there's nothing I can ever do to get a girl like that. Oh, woe is me, I'll never get a girlfriend. Oh, no. Oh, and she's like, I have these, right? And she holds up a vial of the aphrodisiac and says, it's a love potion. I wanted to come through the screen right then and there and just smack her and say, hey, false advertising is illegal. You're gonna get sued. But she kind of convinces him and she's like, she's nice to everybody. She barely remembers you. And he's like, all right. So he pours it into a thing of water and asks her to meet with him. So it's established she already has the confidence to do it, but for some reason he can't just ask her the fuck out instead. Well, alright. They kind of meet at a little spot off to the side of the school that they're going to, where there's really not a ton of people. There's practically no people, because they go at it for... I'm getting ahead of myself. After they meet, she kind of confesses something to him where she says, you're like really nice, and you're the only person who treated me with any sort of kindness when we first met, because I'm like the only elf here in a school full of humans. I just want to let you know, there was no elves in the last episode of this whole series, so this is a brand new ass thing. There were demons in demon VHSs, but like, now elves, so this is a weird transition. But regardless, it's a welcome one. They really just kind of hit it off with that little, like, happiness that goes along with, like, somebody saying, you were nice to me, and I appreciate that. And then she picks up the water that he handed her, and then he grabs the water out of his hand. He's like, nope, she's too nice, I'm not gonna let this happen, and then drinks the whole ass thing right then and there. Now, you see, they don't just work on women, you imbecile. They work on anybody. And when they work on men, there is physical proof of it actually working. Why not just hand her the normal water? Be like, oh, sorry, that's mine. I, like, dropped it on the ground and I forgot which one it was. See this little scrape right there? Here's this one. And they're so simple. Just like a half little work. So much could have been avoided. But I wouldn't be here if there wasn't sex. So, after downing the entire thing, you could have sipped it. After downing the entire thing right then and there, she looks over and says, oh my god, are you okay? Because he's on the floor convulsing because like, oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god. But, yeah, it gets pretty noticeable. Pitching a tent is hard even when you don't have super turbo juice powering it. So she looks over at him and says, is there anything you can do? Anything I can do? And he's like, no, don't look at me right now. Respect for the restraint. And then she looks and notices his bulge and says, there is something that I can do. You know, my race is actually really low in population right now, so I actually kind of feel like it's my responsibility to help out, so, and then jumps down on him, kind of picking him up, and that's where scene number 1 starts. Scene number 1 starts at 6 minutes and 20 seconds, and goes all the way to 13 minutes and 20 seconds. Hot damn! 7 minutes of just this. It's beautiful. It's masterful. It's breathtaking. You ever have those moments? This is one of those scenes where you kind of... I'm by, and I half forgot to stare at the dude. This is a good scene. This is a good scene, and she works damn hard in it. Respect. After the entire scene kind of concludes, it then leads over to like, oh, let me just go ahead and walk by this open crack in the door, says Hibiki, the girl who was all chummy with the main character this whole time. She walks by and sees, oh, what's this? The man she was going after. Her face right next to it. I can see them putting their hands on each other. Naturally, I shall be enraged, infuriated at the gall of this man who used an aphrodisiac on a woman that I gave him because I knew that he had feelings for that girl. This is unforgivable. Can't believe he would do this. How could I have let this happen? How could I have directly supported this? How could I have almost inadvertently caused most of this to happen by my own accord? Clearly he's in the wrong. Kinda was in the wrong. Don't drug people. Pretty not okay. But then she walks off, in which case Kazuya then catches up to her after a little bit and is like, hey, what's going on? She's all pissed off and he's like, what's going on? Come on. You were all friends with me before, what's going on? on. And then she backhands this bitch hard into the wall and then makes him pass out. After doing said act, it's so much that he stays asleep the entire time. She picks him up and brings him over to the nurse's office where they get their own little sectioned off World War II style area where there's like plastic sheet. Is that a thing in Japan? If any of my viewers are from Japan, is that a thing in like your high schools and colleges where the nurse's office has those little separators? Because over here in America, we get one concreted wall off area with like 2 areas, maybe, if it's in like a decent spot in the building. And even then, there's only like 2 beds at most. The place where I was at, there's literally just like, there's like a doorway, there's no door. And then there's 2 beds right here that are right up against the walls, and there's not a light inside of it. So it's literally, you go in there, sleep it off for 10 minutes, and if it doesn't go away by then you go home, and then you never have to tell the school about it again. I'm getting off track, but I feel like I needed to mention that. But after going in there, she kind of looks down at him and thinks, I probably shouldn't have probably caused you a concussion, and he's over there like, I see stars. Also, I'm asleep. That's probably a bad thing to do when you've got a major head wound. So she looks over at him and thinks, man, why did I ever give him one of these? Holds up a vial and just says, and then it just goes to town on it right there. And then she does this thing where it like, you know, like the Super Saiyan power-up, like in the Dragon Ball movie where Turles eats one of the fruit of the Tree of Might, and then does the like the muscle boost upwards. That happens to her vagina and her boobs, and it just immediately happens. And I'm like, is it blood flow doing that? Because I don't think there's muscles down there. How can you get a thing toned like that? There's no muscles in your boobs. How? If there is, correct me. I'm wrong, and I want people to correct me when I am wrong. But that's what I think is going on, because I have not studied any anatomy class ever. So, after that happens, she kind of just gets way too close to the dude and eventually just goes balls to the wall, cougar jumps on him, and then scene number 2 starts. Scene number 2 starts at 16 minutes and 5 seconds and goes all the way to 23 minutes and 5 seconds. While there's a little bit of a brief moment where this is another one of those scenes where I'm like, damn, I want to stare at the dude, but fuck, that girl is working hard. You get it, girl? And the whole thing is awesome. There's a little bit of a scene afterwards, in between, because there's still a good chunk of the episode left. So she stands up and is like, oh, I probably shouldn't have done that. That was a little messed up of me. She looks back at him and says, don't remember any of this ever, okay? And he's like, okay, I got you. And then she tries to walk out, very scantily clad. Like, her shirt is open, her underwear is off. Where are you going? Why? And then after walking out, she opens the door, and there's Elena, the elf girl from before. Or Mommy. She says, hey, what's going on? And then realizes what's going on. She's like, oh, okay. And then whispers a little close, don't try anything on my man. And then walks over to him, and then starts going to town on part 2 of scene number 2, which goes from 23 minutes and 45 seconds to 24 minutes and 55 seconds. And I gotta admit, it's that last little minute and 10 seconds that really just, that draws you right back in for that last little hurrah. And god damn, I love this. So, after that whole thing happens, he then realizes that they're going to continue without his permission, as he starts to look like dry bones over on this side and thinks, I need to get the fuck out of Dodge. And then tries to bolt for the door. And then the episode ends with the whole, like, anime clattering and clanging of a whole bunch of different stuff. So, let's go ahead and end it right there, and let's get on into a review. Cut that screen that I still haven't fixed, even though I said I was going to do it. Let's go! Alright, now, the animation. The animation, I'd like to say, is not on par with the first episode. The first episode was heavily detailed, had lighting issues that really just made it to where things reflected easily, and it had a lot of really well set characters that just had distinctness and intricacy to the actual designs of them. This one, noticeable step down. This is like season 2 didn't have that big of a budget, but the people making it had a lot of passion. So I want to say, even though this is the scenes in this are amazing, the animation is a little bit better than passable. I'd say a solid 6 out of 10. Nothing great, but there's just a few moments where you can tell they ran out of time and they had to like skirt past it just a little bit. Some static moments, some heavier lines than there should have been. Serviceable, not bad, 6 out of 10. So, that moves on to characters and story. Characters and story throughout this whole thing, it's not great. Not great, it's just mid. It's mid, is the best way I can put it. It's, girl has an aphrodisiac, gives it to a guy uses it on his crush, girl gets upset that he used it on his crush even though she provided it to him, uses it on herself to get the guy. They meet up at the very end and go double team on the dude. It's pretty standard plot that you would expect from anywhere else. Nothing really big happens with it. The characters are pretty dumb overall. At least the main girl is, Hibiki. Elena is beautiful, and I will hurt anybody who says otherwise. So, the main guy, he's pretty much just rolling with the punches at this point. I'm going to say it mid across the board, 5 out of 10. There's really not much else to say. 5 out of 10. Which leads us to the thing that we've all been waiting for. The plot. The plot. The plot is like going into something that you expect is going to be just another flavor of the same vanilla. And then as soon as you take a bite into it, you realize that bitch is gelato, and it is. Oh, that's the good shit. That's the good shit. That is good shit. It runs for almost half the length of the entire thing. Works well, does well. The effort of the women in this makes me realize that I wasn't staring at the dude the whole time. The effort of the dude makes me realize I'm gonna stare at the girls because they're working their ass off and they do it well. Well, also, the doctor loves elves. Orc girls are awesome because they have abs. Elves are awesome because they're fucking hot. Maybe I'll do that on my next subscriber tier list. My next one. Maybe I'll do a Monster Girls ranking. You guys can hold me to that because I will do that at some point. I don't know at what milestone I'm gonna do it at though. Stay tuned, subscribe. Hey, I'm still here. The plot of this, easily 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10, it's so good. This series is pretty consistent, both episodes of it, where they're like, we'll have 2 scenes at most. They're like, aw, but they're gonna be the best fucking scenes you ever seen, boy. And we're like, woo! And then the scenes happen, and they're like, they delivered. They showed up, and they blowed up. That is good. So yeah, I'm gonna give the plot of this whole thing a 9 out of 10. Damn, boy! Damn, boy! Oh, it's just good. Yeah. And that leads it to the overall of the whole thing. Overall, you come here for the porno level everything, and stay for the silver, gold, bronze, every color of it mixed together to make that good material. That's what you're here for. This is a solid 7 out of 10 when you average the numbers together. It's, 5, 6, and 9. Put that together, divided by 3. That would be 6.666 per feet. Whatever. You round up, that's 7. 7 out of 10. This is great. It is not as good as the first episode, but damn, if you want to skip around some of these sections, it is 100% worth it to just jump from scene to scene, because the scenes last a long time, and they don't really require a lot. Just know that they both know each other, they both have aphrodisiacs, boom, set. And it's good! So, now that we're here, let's go ahead and end it. This is gonna be... I hate taking so much time off, but I am a stupid person who makes a lot of careless mistakes and realizes he's making a video at like 2 in the morning. So, that's where we're gonna end it today. Thank you everybody for being here. Subscribe if you're new, and if you feel like it. Mostly because Papa really wants to hit that milestone. Any milestone. I'm here to have fun, and you guys are letting me have fun. Thank you. I'm going to do this even if you're not here. But thank you everyone for being here, regardless of how many you are. Even if you're being unsubscribed all at once for some reason. Did anybody else notice that? I got unsubscribed from like 5 different people that I really liked, but I just haven't watched their videos in a minute. Well, stupid. But, yeah, let's go ahead and end it there. I have been the Doctor, and remember, have a nice day, don't be a dick, there's too many of them, and wash your fucking hands. I've been the Doctor. Peace.